Boom. Welcome back to Trout Academy. Today I'm fishing a small creek right here. To be honest, I'm fishing it because I was feeling kind of lazy and a little beat down. I've fished, 3 days for trophy tiger trout, 8 days for trophy brook trout, 5 days for lake trout and splake, 2 days for trophy browns, and I've caught very few fish, and it's been probably one of the worst falls that I've had in a long time. So today I was thinking about waking up early and going and chasing some lake trout, and I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna sleep in and I'm gonna go and fish dry flies for cutthroat trout because I just want to go and enjoy the day. It's supposed to be a pretty warm day, and I'm hoping to get into some dry flies. I think it's supposed to be in the 60s, which is really crazy hot for this time of year. I'm freaking pumped to know that, or at least think, I'm going to catch some fish. And if I don't, probably going to get in that river and do some cold plunge or something, because if I'm not catching fish, I might as well get something out of my drive. I'm going to go over my leader build. Because I'm fishing a smaller stream, I don't really need a very long leader, so I'm probably going to end up being around 8 feet. I'm going to do 2 feet of a heavier butt section, then I'm going to do 2 feet down to 1x, and then I'm going to drop down and do maybe 4 feet of 3x. The principle is kind of the same that we discussed in a previous leader build video and in one of my approaches video. I want this leader to not transfer energy. It doesn't need to transfer energy because I'm gonna target fish on dries. So as that rolls out, I actually want it to kind of hesitate at the end of my cast and flutter down in kind of an accordion shape. And the reason being, so I can get a longer drag-free drift, and so I don't spook fish. It's gonna land a lot softer that way. So that's gonna be my leader setup for today. It's gonna be 8 feet long, and I'm gonna tie it in just 3 sections. And then from that 3x, I'm probably gonna drop a dropper off of my dry fly on 4 or 5x. But yeah, so I'm all rigged up and ready to fish. I've got a little parachute purple haze on and a little pheasant tail, probably my favorite nymph of all time. And I'm just gonna start fishing. I've been sitting here watching a little bit. I'm not seeing any fish rise, but it's nice and sunny, and you know what, I'm hopeful that the fish will come up if they see something they want. So we're gonna give her. On a pool like this, especially with the water being low, I don't believe for a second there's not a few fish in here. So I take note. Am I seeing anything flash on my nymph? Is anything coming up to inspect my dry? And if I'm not getting eats, I'm not gonna wait very long to change. I probably am only gonna fish, 3 or 4 holes like this, and if I'm not getting something, I know there's something wrong with my setup. So don't be afraid to switch, figure out what the fish are eating, because on a hole like this, it's too good. There's fish in there. They don't want what I'm offering. Well, that's a sucky cast when you hook your own camera. Dang, I thought it was a fish. My heart jumped. Just a freaking stick. My fly is starting to sink a little. I personally like using this powdered stuff. The reason why is I can apply it to my fly over and over again. If it starts to sink, I can hit it again. You do have to apply it more, but you know, I like that I don't have to switch out my fly. With the oil-based stuff like gink, I oftentimes will have to switch because the fly will get saturated with water and you can't reapply that oil. It doesn't work. The other thing is, don't mix the powder and the oil. If you've put oil on a fly, don't put this stuff on it because the oil will grab this and it actually makes it sink more. That's my third really good hole in a row that I've fished, and I haven't seen anything look at it. I haven't had any eats, and so I'm already starting to think probably time to switch up my rig. And if I fish one more pool like this and don't get anything, I'm definitely gonna switch because I know there's fish in there. This is a brand new beaver dam. I've never seen it, but could be a really good thing. I haven't caught anything in this lower section, so maybe there's a bunch of fish in here. That was super weird. First of all, I didn't think I would catch a fish out of that beaver pond because I didn't see anything moving around, which the water is crystal clear. I would have thought I'd see fish. I finally spotted one fish way up there rising. There's almost nowhere to cast on either side of this thing. and I've only got a 6'6" 2-weight. So I bombed the cast as far as I could. It was good enough. And the fish ate, and it was a tiger trout. I've never caught tiger trout in this stream. I didn't know there were tiger trout in here, so that's pretty cool. I'm actually pretty excited about that. I wish that it would have been a cutthroat because I came to catch cutthroat, but you know, good surprise. I had to shed a layer. It was getting so hot out, which is crazy for this time of year. It's the end of November. There's only one deep pocket on this beaver dam, and then most of it is shallow and flat. And now there's a deep up here, so I'm coming along this side, and I'm gonna have to kind of back cast, but there's nowhere to really stand and fish on that other side. So I'm gonna have to kind of cast like backwards and off to my side. But there is a bit of a deeper channel where the river ran before, so I'm gonna see if there's some fish holding up where the current comes into this thing, because there's hardly anything back here. And I'm gonna walk super soft and super slow so I don't spook fish. Fish are usually very spooky in beaver dams, especially one like this where it's so dead calm. I left my net in the car because I was planning on catching 8-inch cutties. Huge surprise. I took the smaller rod too because again I was planning on catching just tiny little fish. This rod is definitely about at its max with this fish. That is just so wild to me. Just this is not at all what I expected, and it's crazy. I was definitely not expecting to fish beaver dams. I was definitely not expecting to catch anything even close to that big today. But you know what? I'll take it. I waited all that time to get him in frame, and I whiffed it. After the beaver pond kind of petered out because I missed so many fish in it, I moved upstream and I found another beaver pond. So I'm gonna try and fish that. When I first arrived, there were a couple fish that were rising, so I'm gonna give it a whirl. If anybody's home, they do not want to play. I'm in the thick of it here, but there are fish rising out here on the other side of me. And I can see a couple of really nice looking cutthroat in there. There might be a tiger in there as well, but I'm going to move over to the other side of the bank over there so that I actually can cast. I think it's going to be worth it. It's going to take, you know, probably 5 minutes to get out of here and walk around and get set up, but I feel like it's going to be worth it because there are a few good fish in here and they're rising, so I'm going to go get them. Alright, I'm finally over here and set up. I'm going to creep in and just try and work my way up. That way, try not to spook any fish above. I'll start below and just kind of cast up and see if I can find something. Finally a cutty! Even though that fish wasn't as big as those tiger trout, to me, fish of the day. You know, I came here hoping to catch a cutty, and I just caught a really good looking fish, so I'm pumped about that. And what's also weird, I've never had happen before, is I just hooked up on a little branch. I pulled my dry to get it off. All that came back was this little piece of the hook. The whole feather just stripped off and just left me with the shank of the hook. There's no barb or anything on there. It's funny. It's weird. Just stripped my whole dry fly of everything. I want you to see this water, how gin clear it is. And I've purposely been walking up and down in here to spook fish, and I'm just not seeing anything. Look at this. Look at my boots. That is super gin clear water, and I just feel like if there were fish in here, at least any number of fish, I would definitely be seeing them, and I'm not. So I think they must have like treated it with rotenone, or there was a big die-off. I don't know, but really weird. Anyway, I'm gonna go back and fish those beaver dams and call it a day. Guess who's back? My little buddy is back rising. Learn from my mistake. Fishing downstream to fish, especially with small flies, is so stupid. I think what happens is they eat and the fly gets pulled out and it never really makes good contact. Versus if you're going downstream, you pull and it gets set right into the corner of their jaw. It's just so much more efficient. There's another couple fish rising over there, so I'm gonna turn the camera and see if we can get that guy. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Today definitely didn't go as planned. I caught, a lot less fish than I hoped for, but I'm stoked on the day. It was super fun to fish dries. I caught a couple nice tigers, which was a huge surprise, and I ended up catching some cutties, which is really what I wanted. So, yeah, I'm stoked. Thanks for watching, guys.